Yo! Welcome back to the Fireside FPL, I guess, fantasy
podcast.
Would you call this the podcast?
Sure.
Yeah?
Why not?
It's definitely a podcast.
I mean, we have the other piece as the podcast. This is more of just like hard-hitting fantasy facts.
What do we do when both are combined?
Let me write it down. We have a new slogan, everyone. Let me write it down. We're ready to use it. Where we bring you fantasy stats and football chats. Get ready to hear that a lot.
That's nice.
That's a winner.
That's a winner chicken dinner.
And that's going to get used.
Let's get into this.
Yep, absolutely. We are trying to get this thing just streamlined the best we can. So, Dave, get us started with the transfer news.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the transfer movements that have been happening so far this week. And the moral of the story is no one likes Arsenal players anymore, I think. But I want to start with some of the transfer ins. And so a lot of these guys on this list are people we've talked about. Brian Mbeumo, people still trying to get him into their squads. Raul Jimenez, Dwight McNeil, Cole Palmer, all guys we've talked about. So I'm not going to spend too much time on them. But the most popular transfer in so far is a guy I do want to talk about, Josko Gvardiol from Manchester City. And so if we look at him, almost 60% of his transfer ins are people getting rid of one of the two Arsenal center backs, so Saliba or Gabriel. Saliba makes sense, obviously, because he got sent off, so he's facing a suspension. But I think a lot of people, as I said, are moving off of like Arsenal players at all positions because their schedule for the next 3 weeks is kind of brutal. Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea. And so that makes sense as well. People jumping off their defenders and midfielders. And I think this is a move I'm considering myself. Again, I mean, City's schedule is pretty good coming up, much better than Arsenal's. Southampton, Bournemouth, and I think it's Brighton after that. So I think it makes a lot of sense to make the switch, probably why this is the number one transfer in.
Yep.
Just a note, like if you're, depending on how far out you plan your teams, I think it would be a good time to switch back in week 12. Like if you really want to have, an elite central defender on your team, I think week 12 is a good time to switch back because I have Gabriel because City play Tottenham and Liverpool in weeks 12 and 13. So I think it makes a lot of sense, pivot off Gabriel or Saliba for a few weeks and then come back to them once City has those tough couple of games. But the other guy, Son, he's playing again. He seems to be back in form. 63% I saw of his transfers are people jumping off Bukayo Saka. As I just mentioned, their schedule is rough. So that makes a lot of sense. Tottenham's schedule is really good, and they're looking really good as a team, especially going forward. Son scored in the last game, probably could have had another goal or two. So this is another one because I also have Bukayo Saka, so I'm almost certain I'm going to make this transfer out Saka, bring in Son. You save a few, I think it's $200K making that move, so I think that one makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys had any other thoughts on either of them, Son or Gvardiol.
No, I think
I fully agree with both.
Yeah, fully agree. The only thing I think I'm noticing, like you said, Dave, is defenders. I think people are starting to move off expensive defenders, just in general. So I don't know if that's an Arsenal thing by itself or just because I'm thinking about moving off of Gabriel. 6.1 million for a defender, that's a lot. So I'm wondering if that's a move that people are starting to realize, hey, maybe just get the cheap defenders and spend your money elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the fixtures are coming up have a lot to do with it. I think there's some cheaper defenders that'll work coming up, but
and you said Tottenham has a pretty easy schedule, right?
Palace, Villa, and Ipswich are their next 3 games.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of Porro and Gvardiol combos.
Yep.
Yeah, but like I said, the rest of the ins are a lot of guys we've talked about. So I'm going to hop over to the outs, which, as I mentioned, is pretty much like all Arsenal guys. And so, like Saliba, we mentioned, Saka, we mentioned, Kai Havertz, people jumping off him. I think a lot of that is trying to get Raul Jimenez or Chris Wood on your team. But the one guy I did want to talk about is Luis Diaz. And so we kind of seen, and the people that folks are bringing in for Luis Diaz is kind of varying. There's some Mbeumo, some Son, some Cole Palmer. A lot of Liverpool has been doing a lot of squad rotation because Diaz was on fire a few weeks ago, and now he hasn't started, not playing as many minutes. I don't know if this is going to be a common theme with Liverpool throughout this year because they've got a lot of wingers and
nice.
Forwards that are good.
Must be nice to leave Luis Diaz on the bench.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is going to be something that they do throughout the year, but I think with the number of in-form options that we've got in the midfield right now, I think he's the third most transferred out guy this week, so I think that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, the rest of them are Arsenal guys, and so we talked about them. But Phil, I know Luis Diaz is one of the guys you wanted to dive in a little bit more on in the roundtable this week. So
yeah,
why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. So on the screen, you're going to see some of his stats and upcoming fixtures. I think the big thing with Luis Diaz, and Dave, you kind of just covered it, is rotations. It's hard to know who's the starter for them. Is it actually Luis Diaz, their number one? But because they have Champions League midweek, they have coverage on that side with Gakpo, even Chiesa. Are they just trying to get to the end of the season as healthy as possible? So my one call out for Luis Diaz, wait to see. They play tomorrow.
In the Champions League?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes, because they play against
tomorrow.
Leverkusen.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wait
until the game tomorrow. If you see Gakpo starting, you probably know that Luis Diaz is going to start on the weekend. If Luis Diaz is starting, he's probably going to be benched for the EPL again. So maybe keep an eye out on that game, and depending on who starts, that should tell you if you should drop.
That's a super tough matchup, so I wouldn't judge too much on that. Leverkusen might be the best team on earth. So
they might be the best team on earth, but I think based on how they're rotating every single week, whoever starts for that game is going to dictate who starts over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure.
Yota's dinged up too. He got hurt in the last game, so if Luis Diaz doesn't start, I think it's a pretty safe bet that he'll probably start on the weekend.
Yeah. So maybe keep him for one more weekend, but I do think he's probably someone that you want to move off of if he's going to be in constant rotation.
They do play Arsenal.
They have Arsenal coming up, so that's a tough one. And I just think you can have some cheaper options to what you alluded to, Dave, whether it's Mbeumo or even McNeil. Still Semenyo, high on him, even if it allows you to save up for someone like Son or Palmer or whoever. So Luis Diaz, just keep an eye on him, but probably worth dropping if he continues to be on rotation.
Sweet. Love that. Before I go on my player here, I just want to make a comment. I see we're all on the man, talking's tough sometimes.
The what train, Sean?
We're all on the Mbeumo train. More Mbeumo on this pod, which I love.
You guys peer pressured me into that.
And Mbeumo is
happens.
What? Numero uno.
Oh, that was really good. All right, so my first player, I'm going to be honest, I did not think this is someone we'd be talking about in Week 8, especially after the way the season started. I'm going with Erling Haaland today as my first player. I know. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So, let's just look at the numbers for the last few games, right? In Week 5, he had 9 points against Arsenal. And then since then, he's had 2 against Newcastle, 2 against Fulham, 2 against Wolves. If you look at his shots and shots on target, they've all just consistently gone down. 6 shots, 5 shots, 4 shots, 0 shots, right? So you're seeing a decline. Now, in any other circumstance, we know Haaland is one of the best scorers on earth. He might be the best scorer on earth. So normally, this wouldn't be a concern. The problem is what happened in Week 5 against Arsenal. Rodri, he goes down. So is it a coincidence or is it just losing the playmaker of that team? Not to mention De Bruyne is still out, and Pep came out this week and he said the injury is not healing as fast as they thought it would. So there is no timeline for De Bruyne still. Yeah. So that midfield, from the way they like to play, is decimated. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying it's time to hit the panic button on Haaland. Again, he can go out next week and get 3 goals. That wouldn't surprise anyone. That's who he is. He's, again, one of the best goal scorers in the world.
Southampton, too.
Southampton. Yes, exactly. So, I do think we need to give Pep a little more time to see if he's fixing the problem. But my only concern with that is this might be the new way of winning for Man City. It may not be the fact that he hasn't fixed the problem yet. Maybe the fact that he has fixed the problem, and now they're just a different style of team right now, right? I know they scored in their game this weekend on one free kick and I think one corner. So not really the greatest way to win a game, but it is what it is. I think, like you said, Southampton's coming up. There's no reason to hit the panic button, but if he goes out against Southampton, potentially the worst defense in the EPL, and he does not perform, I'm at a point where I'm struggling to justify 15% of my allotted money to one player if he's not going to get me a goal or an assist every 2 out of 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. Their schedule is amazing, by the way. Southampton, home.
Yeah, it's good.
Bournemouth, Brighton, and then they get Tottenham and Liverpool, and then they go Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
That's a solid schedule. That's a schedule he should fairly excel in most of those games, right? Or at least get a goal. He's still projected the most of any player.
He is.
But the uncertainty number is the highest it's been all season at 25%.
Yeah.
It's normally sitting under 20%. It's now at 25% uncertainty of his projected points. So point being is, that's my guy. There's no reason to hit the panic button yet, but I don't know if this isn't just Pep's new way of playing.
I think it bears what you're saying is there's some credence to that because Rodri got hurt in that Arsenal game. So the last 3 games they haven't had Rodri, right?
Nope.
So the first 5 game weeks he had 10 big chances and 5.5 on the expected goal count. So the last 3 weeks, and let me get the number right so I don't deceive people, his expected goals over the last 3 games is at 0.55, and he has 0 big chances.
He had 0 shots this week.
And so he's still got 7 shots inside the box, which is a good number, but it's Erling Haaland, like you said. We're expecting over any 3-game spell for his expected goals to be over half a goal and 0 big chances.
15% of your money.
And so
his shots are also kind of forced headers, not they're not clear big chances.
In any business, when you see a trend line like his shots in the last 3 games, you're like, okay, something's not good here. It's bad. It's straight down.
So I don't think I'm hesitant to say this is the new normal because I think as good of a coach as Pep is and as good as City are, they probably need time to adjust. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I can recommend transferring him out. It's a lot of cost savings, but I think it's worth he's with their next 3 games. They have good matchups, so but definitely keep an eye on it because I wasn't expecting to see those kind of underlying numbers for him when I looked.
Yep, on the wait and see train, but it can only last so long. And if this is Man City's new form of play, might be time to move. But Dave, go with your first one.
So this is a guy we talked about a few weeks ago when we kind of had that mini budget forward discussion. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And so we recommended him, like I said, a couple weeks back. Raul Jimenez, a couple other guys that have worked out. It hasn't really worked out for Dominic Calvert-Lewin since then. Nope. A lot of 1 and 2 point performances. It was worked out for Raul Jimenez though. But
so you're just insulting me while saying how good you are at this. Okay.
No, we were kind of all on him.
I'm just messing with you.
But back then I was choosing between those 2 people, and I went with DCL.
I went with Raul.
Yeah, I know you did. I know. And so the reason I brought him up is he's kind of in that same price range as Raul Jimenez, is a little bit less. Chris Wood's a little bit more. I'm saying this because I am sticking with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, if you wanna jump off of him for Wood or Raul Jimenez, I'm not gonna stop you from doing that. They're both in form. They have good schedules coming up. So does DCL. But the reason I'm sticking with him is his expected goal number is still very good at 1.97 over the last 4 games. That's better than Ollie Watkins and Erling Haaland, and he's right there with Danny Welbeck and Chris Wood with that number.
Ooh. Danny Welbeck too soon.
Yeah, I know.
Too soon.
He would have been another guy I would talk about if he didn't get hurt.
I don't know. It just felt like the right time to do a Trump hint. Keep going.
But the chances are still there. He's had 4 big chances, 7 shots on target. Only Erling Haaland has more than that over the last few weeks. Still getting touches inside the box. So all the numbers are there. Like, he's still involved. He's still getting chances. He's played 90 minutes in every game. Like I said, the schedule is still good. Like I said, I'm not going to stop you if you want to get rid of him for Wood or Raul Jimenez. But some of the other budget guys, like obviously Danny Welbeck got hurt, but some people are moving on to one of the 2 Wolves forwards, Strand Larson or Cunha. Mm-hmm. I think I'm still sticking with DCL over those guys. And yeah, I'm sticking with him, but can't blame you if you want to go with Raul Jimenez. But DCL's my guy.
I think there's a little bit of hype on the Wolves guys after that performance against City, so I don't know if I'm sold on Larson, but to your point, I think it's between Raul or Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So
yeah, Cunha's underlying numbers are a little bit better than Strand Larson's, but he's also $500,000 more than DCL. So
yeah, I like that, Dave.
Who you got, Philip?
My next guy is an overall anything Brentford. So I'm going to go with Wissa.
I thought you were literally just going to say anything Brentford.
No. So back on the Mbumo numero uno train, but anything Brentford. So I'm going with Wissa. He's coming back from injury. I don't know if he's going to play the full 90 minutes this upcoming week. So this is, again, more keep an eye out for him. But at $5.9 million, he had 3 goals and 1 assist in 5 games before getting hurt. Yep. Him and Mbumo are boys out there. They literally have either the easiest or second easiest stretch of games coming up. So I think he's going to fit right into their 4-3-3 formation that I think they play with him a lot more than without him. And
yeah, they switched the formation when he's back.
Yep.
So I think he's similar to Raul Jimenez. They play on 2 explosive offenses. Brentford, obviously, one of the top offenses. So for $5.9 million, if you're looking for a cheap option for your second or third forward, I think he could be really good. Again, keep an eye out for this weekend. I don't know if he's going to start or play the full 90 minutes, but in 2 weeks, I think he should be consolidated as a starter.
So let me ask, on that point, what do you think? Is he taking a hit here? Do we think Mbumo is going to lose some value, or do we think he's going to get more or just kind of stay?
I think, if anything, Mbumo might get some more assists. Maybe doesn't score, but could get more assists. And I don't see Mbumo slowing down. Just
do we remember?
He's like probably the first name on the team sheet.
Absolutely.
How did he perform? I honestly don't remember at this point with Wissa. I know he was still good. Was he still performing? He was still doing really well, right? Even with Wissa in the team, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can look at some of his early performances here, but he's been like a super good value pretty much this entire season.
I just want to call. I mean, Phil, it's a great point to call out Wissa, and I just want to go at this.
9-1-14 were his first 3 games.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, honestly, he's still going to be on PKs.
So he's still doing his thing.
Set pieces. So
I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one then. Yeah, maybe get Wissa if you don't want to get Mbumo. To your point, get a piece of Brentford.
Yeah, get a piece of Brentford.
Get a piece of it. Just don't get shot. I mean, that's been my worst pick of the year.
They couldn't have easier games coming up. So
yeah, they got past that monumental task of playing Man United. But the other thing about Wissa is, correct me if I'm wrong, he was like 6.1 or 6.2 at the start of the year, his price, and he's down at 5.9 now. So
it's gone down every week. He hasn't played.
It might be a good time to snag him and help your team value if he performs anything like he did early.
Good point. That's a really good point.
And you'll see it on the screen too, but he's projected 23.5 points over the next six weeks. And if you compare that to my other guy, Luis Diaz, he's only projected 17. And Luis Diaz is over $2 million more than him. So obviously different positions depending on what you need, but I think Wissa's an important guy to keep an eye on.
Talk about giving out the best content. That's what we do here.
That's what the Fireside boys do. What do we do? Fantasy stats and football chats.
Bang.
Like the video. Dave's our stats.
like it, yeah.
No. He's our stats guy.
Yeah. Dave's the stats guy. Okay. My second guy. Similar start to the last conversation. I did not think I'd be talking about this guy at this point in the season.
Sean's just real surprised on this episode today.
Very. I mean, I'm going from.
Can we title it? Sean gets surprised.
That might I don't know. People might get a little scared of what the video's going to be.
Yeah, it's true.
So I went from the top to the bottom with this guy. So my second guy is Michael Keane, Everton defender. I didn't think I'd be talking about Everton defenders going into week 9.
Same.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So we talked about Everton early on in the season. Basically what we said was the offense looks like it's performing pretty well. The defense is atrocious.
Yeah.
They were giving up 3 goals in the last 20 minutes of every game. That was awful. But I remember reading up on them a little bit, and there were a lot of believers saying, Sean Dyche, I believe his name is it Ditch or Deitch? Do you know? Sean?
I believe it's Deitch.
Deitch, yeah, okay. Sean Dyche, people were saying, they were like, okay, slow start, he's going to turn it around. I read a couple articles, I think 2 articles, saying that, and I was like, all right, I don't know much about him, but let's see what happens. Well, in their last 4 games, they've given up 2 goals. They're still pretty high on the list for goals against on the season, but again, that comes from those first couple games where they were just,
they were out
crapping
of sorts.
They were crapping the bed, for lack of a better
Goals
term.
in 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, it was
Something
terrible.
crazy.
It was terrible. And flip side of Haaland scoring all those goals in a row, it's almost like it can't keep happening, right?
Right.
On the flip side. So my thing is, I don't want to jinx it. This could be the trend, right? 4 games in a row. Technically 5 games because they played an FPL game. I can't remember who it was against. Maybe Southampton. I can't remember. But they played an FPL game and they tied 1-1. They lost in penalties. So again, they're not giving up a lot of goals right now, and I'm thinking that could be the new trend. He's only cost 4.1 million, right? So that is dirt cheap. And that's the point I'm going to make here is, for me, this isn't a guy that, hey, let's go get this guy and play him every single week. What a good pickup. That's not who this guy is. This guy's a money guy, right? So you go get this guy, and I'm going to use my team as an example. I have who do I have? I have Robinson. He's cheaper. I have Digne. He's cheaper. I have Rico Lewis. Keane's cheaper. And then I have Gabriel and Robertson, and he's obviously cheaper than them. So this guy is 4.1, and he is ahead of all of them except Robertson and Gabriel in points. And he's only 1 behind Robertson in points right now at 4.1 million. So for me, and I'm going to do this week, I'm going to go pick him up, and maybe I don't play him this week. They're playing Fulham. But he's going to sit on my bench, and then next week they play Southampton. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him on my bench, and I'm going to say, okay, is this a week Everton has potential for a shutout? If so, I'll probably put him in. But even past the shutout point, right, he's the 11th best defender in points. He's got 29 points. 5 above. It's 5 above his expected XPL. 2 goals, which is tied with every other defender at the top. Gavardiol, I know that's not how you say his name, but I struggle with it. Justin, Gabriel, all those guys. Those are the guys at the top of the list. 2 goals. He's got 6 shots. That's pretty average for a defender. But his expected goals is in the top 20. So I'm going to hold on to him. He's proven he can score goals. I'm going to play him in games that I think he can get a shutout. So Fulham this week. He can get a shutout in that game. Raul's looking good.
Home or away?
It's home. Raul's looking good, but that's a game they can get a shutout. Southampton the week after that. West Ham the week after that. Brentford, Man U, and then they get Wolves. So point being is, listen, if you're trying to save money on a defender, because every week I realize defenders mean less and less. That's a guy you can get and get him out for Robertson or whoever you want, save some money, and then use that elsewhere.
Love it.
So
another just timing note with him, his ownership is creeping up to, I think it's like 8% right now. Yeah. And given they play Southampton next week, I think he's going to have a price rise probably before this weekend. I think he's fairly close to that already. So might be a good time to jump on that one as well if you're going to do it.
He was part of the team of the week, so a lot of people have eyes on him right now. But yes, great point, Dave. If you're going to get him, which I am going to go get him this week.
Go get him.
But you don't have to start him. Remember that, you don't have to start him, but go get him. All right, Dave, second guy, who you got?
So this one is I'll classify it as a differential pick.
Okay.
He's kind of been under the radar good for a lot of this season, and I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about this guy, and that's Facundo Buonanotte for Leicester.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I said. So he's very low owned. He's only at 1% ownership. Leicester has a pretty good upcoming schedule. Forest, Ipswich, Man United. Chelsea, Brentford. It's like a hard matchup in there, but their next 2 games are very good. But let me give you guys
3 games are very good. Don't come on.
Look, come on, man. We won. Give me this one show.
And there was a red card in that game.
In the United game?
Yeah. I'm getting off track. Keep going, Dave.
You're distracting.
I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry.
But so over the last 3 weeks, and I picked the last 3 weeks because he has starting again. He's kind of taken up that spot on the right-hand side over Jordan Ayew, and that's kind of coincided with Leicester playing a lot better. But over the last 3 weeks among midfielders, he's 5th in points. He's 8th in expected goals at 1.63. He's 5th in XFPL. The only guys ahead of him are Palmer, Saka, Salah, and Anthony Gordon. And that number, that XFPL number, is better than a lot of the in-form guys, like the Tottenham dudes, Brian Mbeumo, Gabriel Martinelli. He's had 9 shots from open play, 7 of them in the box, which is, again, right there with a lot of the prominent names in the midfield. And I mentioned he's kind of been good for the whole season, but no one has really noticed, and probably wasn't a guy you were going to use right off the bat, obviously. But the BPS system, over the last 3 weeks, he's 5th in that. And if you look back, he started 2 of their first 3 games, and his BPS scores were also really good in those games. So pretty much when he's been on the field, he's been involved and he's been making things happen. He scored a brilliant goal a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Can you just for the listeners out there, what is BPS?
The bonus points system.
No, I mean a lot of people aren't going to know what that is.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, the bonus point system.
Sure understand what you're talking about.
It attempts to measure things that don't get picked up by the stats that we use all the time. So just someone's total effect on the game, things they do that, again, some of the expected numbers don't even pick up.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's been playing really well is kind of my overarching point. And so he's actually like so I'm going to call them budget midfielders. And I don't know if there's a real classification for this, but I'm going to say guys under 6 million.
Yeah.
And so
a good number.
His points, he's got 34 fantasy points so far. The only guy, like budget midfielder, that's significantly better than him is Dwight McNeil.
That was my guy last week. You're welcome.
It was.
He didn't do anything, but you're welcome.
Like Kovacic is at 38, Emil Smith-Rowe 35, our boy Semenyo's at 33. And most of those guys, like other than Kovacic, all of those guys have pretty much played significantly more minutes than him. And so, again, if you're looking to differentiate yourself, save some money. He's only $5 million. I think he's a nice option for at least the next 2 weeks. And maybe you keep him on your bench against United and Chelsea, but good, cheap midfielder if you're looking for that.
McNeil actually did do something last week. It was the week before he didn't. Yeah. He had 6 this week, so he did pretty well. But
assistant shutout.
I love that, Dave. Hey, again, where are you going to get this kind of content? Dave's digging into the bottom of the well to give you a player that's 1% owned.
Yeah.
That's top tier by you, Dave. That's why you're the numbers guy.
It's definitely a tier. I don't know if it's the top one, but it's definitely a tier.
It's the top one.
It's going to
numbers guy, Dave.
When the Leicester guy, watches his video and he sees himself get called a budget player.
But then he's going to get nervous because everyone's watching this.
That's true.
So they're watching him.
He's going to get famous because of Dave.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But so while I debate whether or not I'm going to have Facundo Buonanotte on my team, I did want to mention that Sean, we were the highest scorer this week in our league.
Yeet.
Bravo.
Congratulations.
Yeet, 49 points.
Well earned.
I know you. It was a narrow-ish margin of victory. 43 for me, 42 for Phil.
It's not that narrow, but yeah.
So what are you doing with your team this week? Any plans? I know you mentioned a transfer that you might do earlier, but what's on your mind?
Yep. So for me, it's probably a whole lot of nothing. Like Dave said, I had 49 points. What was the average this week, guys? Was it 35, 36? Okay, so we all beat the average.
Damn.
We have not missed the average yet. None of us have missed it.
Look at us.
Hey, if you don't want to miss it, listen to this. Or
Don't
now
miss
watch the video.
Watch the video. Yeah, so I'm not doing a whole lot. I have one free transfer right now. I'm going to hold it. I did say I'm going to go get Keane, but I think I'm going to hold it this week because I want to wait and see how Haaland performs against Southampton. If he puts another stinker out there this week, then I'll have 2 free transfers, and I will, if I replace Robertson with Keane, like I said, that gives me around 2 million. Haaland's around 15.4, so now I'm working with over 17 million. and I'm going to make some moves, at striker, at midfielder, and at defender. So at the moment, nothing. Assume next week I'm going to have some things to talk about. So that's what I got.
We'll allow it.
Philip, you got second place. What do you think?
Dave did.
Whoa.
Didn't you just? Oh, you said
Whoa.
okay. I just get stuck in my head because Dave loses
first.
so often.
I'm in first.
Go ahead, Dave.
Let's flash it on the screen, though, that I'm in first in the Pitch Perfect Pod League.
All right, but you weren't first or second this week. Dave, go ahead.
I have 2 transfers, and so like I said, I think I'm almost certainly going to drop Saka for Son. Probably going to do that one soon, and then I'm debating. I have Diogo Jota, but I think I might have to hold on to him. I'm probably going to get rid of Gabriel. I haven't decided if that's going to be for Guardiol or one of the cheaper defenders to set me up for a move next week. But that's what I'm thinking about. But I did want to call out. You started Matt Sells this week too, didn't you, Sean?
Yep.
That was our call out from last week.
Yep.
Mr. Sells, and 11 points.
Great budget goalie.
That was pretty nice. And so I have him and Emi Martinez, and their schedules kind of line up nicely with their easy and tough games. But still recommending Matt Sells. If y'all out there don't have him, he's a good option.
I have him and Fabianski, so I really only have him.
So you just have Matt Sells.
That's why I play every week. So, yeah. All right, Phil, go ahead.
I'm being carried by Raul Jimenez and Nicky J. So I'm just hoping that they keep producing for me. I think I'm going to stick with Salah. Haaland, giving him a few more weeks. But my big thing will be probably moving away from Saka and either picking up Son or Palmer, because I do have some extra cash that gives me either option. So
love that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting.
All right, that's a quick team overview for us.
Sorry.
Good.
I was just going to ask who you're captaining.
I was going to say we did skip over real quick, just a quick summary of the guys we went through. Then we'll get to the captain, vice captain.
Sure.
So for me, I went with Erling Haaland, and I went with Keane. Those are my 2 guys. So Erling Haaland, I said wait on him. He's got the best matchup you could possibly have. He's got Southampton this week, so wait on him. But if he looks poor again, not that he looks poor, but if the team is not feeding him the ball again, start to think about it. 15% of your money is in that player. And then with Keane, I am going to get him. I think he's just at 4.1 million. He's too cheap. You can leave him on your bench if you want. You can play him. Use him to play matchups, but use him to save some money. So that's where I'm going this week, Dave.
Yeah, DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The moral of the story is I'm sticking with him. Underlying numbers look good. Facundo Buonanotte was my differential pick. Nice under-the-radar target. Decent schedule coming up. Been playing pretty well almost the entire year. Starting now, so a good budget midfielder if you need it.
And I went 2 players to watch. First one, Luis Diaz. Just too many rotations on Liverpool, depending on who starts for the Champions League will dictate probably who starts in the EPL. So maybe give it another week or 2, but probably will be a guy you want to drop. And then Wissa on Brentford. Anything Brentford right now. Still not sure if he's going to play 90 minutes this weekend, but he will get back in as a starter. Top attacking team, good connection with Mbumo, numero uno. So
I love that.
2 guys to keep an eye out for.
All right. And then, like you said, Dave, let's go to captain, vice captain. This is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I am going to captain Kovacic against Southampton, and I'm going to vice captain Haaland because I truly believe that this team is no longer working through Haaland. So that's what I'm going to do. That is a very hot take. That's what I'm doing. I'm not saying you should go do it. That's what I'm doing. Dave?
That's definitely a super
that is a
hot take.
Let's see if it works for me.
I am going to captain Cole Palmer against Newcastle, and Ollie Watkins will be my vice captain. Bournemouth for them.
Philippe, El Matador. We haven't
El
mentioned
Matador.
We haven't mentioned it yet.
I am going to go with one final Capitano for Haaland. If he can't do it against Southampton, he can go to hell. Just in FPL, not in real life. And I'm going to vice captain probably Nicky J, just because Salah against Arsenal is probably a tough matchup.
I love that. All right. And also, I just want to mention, Phil, anytime you win going forward, we need to buy you some sort of, if you want a cape, you want a hat, something to be like El Matador.
Give me a little.
I want to give you something so every time you win each week, you can bring it in, just like a little bit of this when we're on camera.
Can Luis, whenever we transition to me talking, just put a little bowl, like skidding across the screen?
Yeah, so we actually did this pretty quick this week, which is great. We're ahead of schedule, so
wow.
So everybody knows we are investing in the video. We are practicing today, actually, so you may have noticed us kind of talking towards the camera. We're not going to post it this week.
Absolutely not.
But next week, I mean, we're going camera. We're getting on YouTube. You can see us.
And we're going to look good.
We're going to look great.
We make this look good.
We sound great.
But no, if you're listening out there on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you're listening, if you like that, keep doing that. If you want to see us on YouTube, if you want to see the players we're talking about, the transfers, all that good stuff, go over, check out our YouTube video at Fireside FPL. Same thing for obviously vice versa. If you want to see us on Spotify or listen to us on Spotify or iTunes, iHeart, etc., Fireside FPL. And as always, if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, you just want to talk, please reach out to us at our official email, firesidefpl@gmail.com, or just comment on the video. We have yet to get a comment. We're really looking for a comment. Whoever the first one is, you believe us. We're going to be right on top of that thing talking to you. So leave a comment. Please leave a like. That's obviously free to do. Both of those are. So, yeah, with that, I think we're out of here. So, see ya.
See ya.
Bye.